Hello and welcome to this edition of the Halcyon Show. My name's Lon Rising and I am going to be your host for this episode. Wanna survive? RPG survival game. Wow, I thought I'd suck at these and man, I really suck at this. Essentially a zombie survival game set with the backdrop of a 2D sort of old school JRPG adventure style. Very pixelated, but very, it's got that Game Boy feel to it in the sense that it just has that design aesthetic. But beyond that is a really solid RPG game. The essence of the game is that every single member of your party can die and you got to keep them alive throughout the course of the game, which I'm sad to say, wasn't able to complete this game. Wasn't able to keep my party members. I think I had 7 or 8 party members in the end. I think there's a maximum of 10 or 12, I forget. But the nature of this game is literally just to utilize their special or unique talents to get through each stage to try and make it from one side of a map all the way to the other to potentially salvation, or depending on how some of these games go, like the old school Newgrounds games, just another sequel after that because the helicopter they're on crashes and they have to survive another level. But nevertheless, that's another time. Let's talk about this game. You start off with just one character who has like a melee ability. You know, it serves as a tutorial mode of sorts. You meet another character and you progress from there. There's a degree of multiple choice to this game in terms of progression. You can go to different locations depending on whether or not you unlock things in the levels that you explore. Depends on how much time you want to spend on each level, especially in the levels where you get threatened by being overwhelmed, but we'll talk about that in just a second. But the fact that there's a degree of replayability in the game to be able to discover secrets and to be able to play the levels in different ways, I really appreciated that. I really enjoyed that. But coming back to the story mode for a second, you unlock different characters as you go. The first character is kind of just there, which is kind of generic white dude savior with a knife. Then you unlock a chick with a gun who has different ability in the sense that she's able to shoot further than he does, but she lacks the same health. And then you encounter a bunch of others. Now, as the game progresses, the other thing you'll notice is that depending on who dies, you get unique dialogue options from the remaining characters. So, for instance, there's a father and daughter. If the father or the daughter dies, the latter laments the fact that they died. You also have opportunities to save other characters. There's a dog in a later level that I think is you're supposed to be able to save, but I don't know, I kind of left his ass because screw it, survival, man. The guy with the shotgun and the boxer dude are way more important to me because they are tanks. That's the other thing you need to remember about this game, management of your party. At the end of each level, you'll be given the opportunity to replenish the health of certain character members, but as all good survival games go, you only have a certain amount of resources, which means that if they go hungry, they actually lose life in between levels, which means it's incredibly hard to keep everyone alive. So you have to be tactical, you have to really quickly identify what your play style is going to be and how best to utilize the characters at your disposal. Let's talk about the combat for a second. Each level will start off with a series of objectives, or objective, i.e. everyone has to stay alive, duh, or collect an item, or make it from one side of the map to the other, or eliminate all enemies. The main threat of this game is zombies, because who doesn't love a good zombie survival game? Come on now, we all love them, right? Zombies will take different levels of damage depending on what type of zombie they are. They'll also move more quickly. It's a turn-based game, so all of your characters will only have a certain amount of movement allotted to them per turn that you have, and they all have different damage buffs, different ranges, they'll have different abilities, things of that nature. So, for instance, the melee characters will be able to do damage when they're pushing off a zombie that's on them. If a zombie is on a character and you don't get that zombie off before your turn ends, your character will take damage. This is why it's really critical in this game to utilize the map to its most, because if you can funnel enemies through a particular guard, the ranged characters can take them out, the melee characters can deal with the funnel because they can take the one hit, and not only that, they can do damage to them when they're fending them off. You can fend off zombies when you're not a melee character, however that utilizes your turn. So one of the strategies that I utilized early on in the game is to make sure that I've always got them parted up, one melee guy to one ranged guy, because at least then you've always got the opportunity to not only do damage, but also utilize the melee character to be able to do damage in the same turn, thereby eliminating perhaps another threat, or at least weakening it for the next round. The thing with this game though is that zombies seem to be abundant. I don't know what it would take to get every party member through a specific level that I hit a brick wall with when reviewing this game. It's why it's taken me so long, because I really wanted to get past it, review the rest of the game, but I can't get through this brick wall, so screw it, let's just review it. There must be a way though. The strategy of this game is imperative. and it's the all-dominating factor. The RPG elements take a bit of a backseat because a lot of these styles of games don't lean as heavily on the narrative as perhaps they should. I feel like there'd be a wealth more content here if they had a bit more dialogue in between the characters, especially during these missions, because these missions there's not abundance of them. The other thing I really liked about this game is overall the design. I thought there's a ton of depth to not only the maps, but the sound design, the soundtrack. The characters themselves all feel unique and diverse. The maps all have different layouts to them, so no two maps have a similar feel, albeit the same tactics can still be utilized to a certain degree. The fact that there's multiple save slots as well, that's a bit dicey. Save slots, say that fast. That helps the replayability because it means that you can experiment. You can afford to choose who to leave behind, who to really protect, who to utilize to their most, and get a good sense of how to progress through the game. I had to utilize this on no less than 2 occasions for a third slave slot that actually got me through a lot of the earlier missions that I struggled. However, I hit the same level and really couldn't get through it. This game is punishingly difficult. You collect coins that will allow you to replay levels or allow you to replay turns. However, I wouldn't waste them because, to be honest, if you're not going to figure out a level by wasting the, I just reload the save if I were you. I wouldn't waste coins retaking turns and things of that nature. It just seems like an abundant mechanic if you ask me. But overall, this game is a ton of fun to play. It's well put together. I didn't see any bugs or glitches worth talking about. The replayability is pretty high, again, considering the nature of the characters and the fact that they can all die or you can save them all, utilizing different strategies. The fact that there is an element of story to this game, albeit it is limited, I appreciate that fact. The design is second to none. It's a really unique looking game, and I just had a bunch of fun playing it. So if I'm going to recommend it, I am going to recommend it to strategy players. I'm definitely going to recommend it to the zombie apocalypse kind of fan, because I think that it's a good take on that genre without being too action heavy, and also just a fan of JRPGs. I feel like this harkens a little bit to that genre more than perhaps other survival games do, so it's worth checking out for that as well. But what do you think? Wanna Survive? Have you played it? If so, what are your thoughts? Leave me those in the comment section below. If not, what are some of your other favorite strategy style or slash survival games, or zombie games for that matter? Wide open genre, so there's a ton to talk about there. Or maybe my question is, what are some of the limitations of the genre that would help if you were to eliminate them to get it through to the mainstream and make it a bit more widespread as a popular genre? I don't know, but leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. In the meantime though, thank you very much for watching this edition of The Halcyon Show. Please like, share and subscribe, and check out some of the other content creators in the description below, and hope you're following me on Twitter. I hope you appreciate the fact that I again tried to keep these episodes nice and short. I'm blowing through reviews now, just trying to catch up, so expect more videos in the weeks and months to come. But in the meantime though, I hope you're taking care of yourselves. I've been your host, Lorne Risley, and I hope to see you on the next episode of The Halcyon Show.